Hi, everybody, and welcome to our final day of the ESO headquarters at PAX West 2016. Thank you so much for joining us through this whole event. It's been a lot of fun having all of you here live and also on Twitch. So today we're going to kick things off with an encore presentation of our Creating ESO Development Stories panel. And these guys have promised me they have some new stories to share. So if you saw the last one, there will be some stuff that you haven't heard in this one. After that, we're going to jump into our dueling panel, and these guys have promised to hop onto the PTS.
And let people kill Rich?
Yeah.
And they will be looking for some opponents to duel in Hammer Death. Hammer Death. Then we're going to take a short break, and we will have the first day in one Tamriel panel one more time for you. And then we'll be wrapping up the day with our Mastering Trials and Dungeons, where these guys are going to run a dungeon live for your entertainment.
Yeah, entertainment.
And hopefully not die over and over.
Entertainment is the proper phrase.
Entertainment, not necessarily victory.
Compare and contrast.
Compare and contrast.
Oh,
yes.
God.
And we'd also like to give a shout out one last time to Cybertron for providing the computers for this event, which the game has run beautifully on. So are you guys ready to kick things off with some news stories?
Sure.
We should start with the new member of the panel.
Yes, that's right.
Let's start with our ash hole.
Do you guys want to introduce each other?
Well, this is Phil.
This is Matt. That's Matt.
I'm Matt Weathers. I'm an artist at the studio.
Philip Draven, lead systems designer.
Rich Lambert, creative director.
Mike Finnigan, Dungeon Lead.
Brian Wheeler, PvP.
You guys sound so enthused.
We're
here, we're ready.
They know who you
go.
are. And they know who you are.
We make ESO.
Let's start it off with our ash hole.
Okay. So, I do a lot of the concept artwork, and in the process of making the art, you come up with a lot of notes, and I always try to include those notes in every piece of art. And, a few months in, realized people were coming back to me asking the exact questions I'd answered
In your notes.
in the little notes. And I mean literally pasted in the picture. So what I started to do was I started to hide one screwed up joke in every drawing. And then the first person that picked up on that kind of shared it with his friends, and they're like, Weathers is putting effed up stuff in here. I need to kind of keep on top of this. So then people started reading the notes and actually not having to ask as many questions. The problem is when that stuff goes to outsourcing and they don't know you. So we have a great guy at our studio named Jesse who handles the outsourcing. And I had done a drawing of a Dunmer funerary set. And, the ash pits are part of their funerary set. So I had made a note on this drawing of an ash pit not to be confused with Dunmer ash hole. So this all goes to China, and China calls back, kind of upset. We're missing an asset to fulfill the contract. We have not received the concept for the Dunmer ash hole. And Jesse's immediately like, fucking Weathers, go! And so he had to explain, this is what takes the place of humor in America and Canada. So
we're sharing our culture.
Yeah, we're sharing our culture with you. Ash hole is key to making this game.
And you now have a shirt.
I now have a shirt. Rich's wife, Terry, made me a shirt, #ashhole. And I can tell you, when you wear it to go shopping.
Worn with pride.
Worn with pride. They're like, that guy's raising a child. Are you allowed to do that in this country? So that's the ashhole story.
With the t-shirts, Rich, when he started to get a lot of notifications of where are the developers on the forums, Rich would just sign in, go on the forums, go /lurk.
/lurk.
And after 300 of those types of /lurks, Terry decided to get you the /lurk shirt.
Yes.
The first time you wore it in the studio, everybody goes, oh my God, that's the most awesome shirt ever. So.
And then they made me wear it on ESO Live.
ESO Live,
Yes,
yep.
ESO
That
Live.
was cool.
Yep.
So more stories, I guess, about art and videos. Remember long ago making the videos for the internal Christmas videos?
Uh-huh.
Every Christmas we have let's get together, everybody from all the studios, and look at videos and stuff. And some of the videos back in the day were a little humorous, to say the least. We had a main character called Sir Nibbles that would jump up on top of walls and just run around. We had crazy names for those characters. Remember Gandorf 115?
Yep.
We were just kind of having a little bit of fun with those videos that never came out.
I just love trying to coordinate that stuff.
Oh
When we put together our very first AVA video, we
For
wanted to
E3.
show size and scale with all the people in the game, and so we had the entire company jumping into the development server and trying to. It was like wrangling.
Coordinate.
We didn't have a
TeamSpeak or anything like that.
or
Yeah.
TeamSpeak or anything. So we had to use our phone intercoms.
Intercom in the office.
Yes.
And we're talking like 100 professional game developers,
yeah,
right? It
right.
should have been easy.
Professional,
to
Yeah,
know,
right, right.
easy,
And it's
right?
on multiple
No?
floors, and all of a sudden we got to
Professional
know,
means
like,
something different in other industries.
some people
man.
just, all right, everybody line up. All right, stop jumping. Stop jumping.
jumping.
No, asshole, stop jumping.
Stop jumping.
Seriously.
All right, everybody turn this. You right there, turn around. You have to face it. All right, don't use your abilities yet. Just run.
And then we had our GM commands. We would find out who they were and be like, "You, Bob, quit it." And then they would stop jumping and go, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like that first day was like 4 hours of filming.
Yes.
Jumping.
Where we're just yelling at each other over the intercom
To get 3 minutes of footage.
to get 3
3
minutes
minutes
of footage.
footage.
Yeah, that was fun though.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. I had to place down the banners around one of the ruins.
Yeah.
Related
And it
to
was-
that, I don't know if you guys remember this, but very, very early on in the dev process, everybody had very easy access to the terrain editing tools. Like they were sitting right there for you to mess with. And so during some of these things where we were trying to test stuff, an employee who will go unnamed would wait till someone was away from keyboard, dig a hole under their character, let them fall in, place the rock, move on with his life. So you'd come back to your keyboard and you'd be buried alive like some kind of post story. I'd also like to point out we now have a live studio audience.
Welcome.
The doors have just opened at PAX. People are filtering in past the big lines outside.
Oh yeah.
What's going on in there? There's lights.
He just asked us if this was the Pokemon studio, and he's walking back out now.
I'm still here.
Thank you.
I mean, development is not a perfect science.
Oh, no.
Right.
We make some
That's a nice way
mistakes.
of wording it.
Make some mistakes. Some of the, a lot of what we do is an iterative process. And so, in order to get things in as quickly as possible so we can start to test them, we kind of beg, borrow, and steal from various pieces. I think Dueling is probably one of the most fun ones where, for one of the company playtests, nobody really knew Dueling had actually gone in,
An early prototype.
Yes.
except for War Wheeler and Bobby,
Bobby, our lead UI.
who's our lead UI guy. And so they wanted to test Dueling on the development server.
Bobby had more experimental time.
During a company playtest, and when it first went in, it borrowed the same sounds as the grouping, and it looked almost exactly the same. The messaging
does.
looked almost exactly the same as grouping.
Or did
So
it?
Bobby went to one of the group areas and started challenging people to duels, and
I'm
people
getting
were like,
group
"Oh,
invites."
hey, I want a group. Okay, click." And then wham, he would just knock him out. And he did that for like an hour, just challenging people to duels and slaughtering them because they were expecting group invites.
He could get away with it because he was UI, and they'd be like, "Oh, Bobby's just messing around." But if I did it, they'd be like, "Damn it, Wheeler!"
You're a troll.
There was all this confused feedback. I just died while trying to group. I don't know what happened.
Does the grouping thing kill you now?
Yes, that's part of
Put in
it.
a new
It'll
bug.
expand, yeah. Come
Got
on in.
some
Come
more?
on in.
It's all good. Yeah, come on in.
Please join us.
We're just talking.
We're doing a broadcast on Twitch talking about developer stories. Come on in. About how our craziness of work works.
Yeah, there was, I think it was 2 Christmases ago, we were working on the justice system. And we had this grand plan to automate the generation of all of the loot tables
Yes.
automatically so that everything would just populate and work. And we spent a couple weeks working on this script. It was looking good. Finally ran it at the end. Did not work as we expected. It created tons of files, but they were not going to work for the game. And so that was also the Christmas, if you guys remember, that the entire systems team was sick with the flu.
Yes.
That was the
and-
entire studio.
Pretty much.
yeah.
And so we ended up coming in for a long weekend while we were all coughing and dying and manually creating 20,000 loot tables,
Yeah.
linking them, like scrawling on whiteboards and coming up with it. In the end, it worked, and it worked the way we wanted it to, but it was brutal. It
was a grind.
It was rough.
There was one thing that happened maybe 3 or 4 months ago where we were seeing this guy get a ton of champion points from Cyrodiil. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And this was something that was in the game for a long time. There was one worker that was on an instant respawn, and you could kill him relatively safe from the guards patrolling out in one of these mines. So we were like, what the hell's going on? And it was just, every time he would just kind of die, he would respawn right away. and the power curve was high enough that the guy could basically get one or two shots really
kill it.
quickly.
Yep.
So we saw this guy get, I don't know, how many champion ranks over the course of one weekend. It was crazy.
It was like 100 or 150 or
And-
something stupid like that.
That
So
was
we
when it was
found it,
really slow.
hotfixed it to made him respawn the proper time, and then Rich sent him a message on the forums, GG, but you can't do that anymore. It's just kind of funny how we see some of those,
I'm a troll.
some of those things.
troll.
Even we can
I
be a
admit
little
that.
trolly and funny, but
Admit that.
There was that systems bug we did when we automated plural names
Oh,
when you had
man.
multiples. So you
That drove Lawrence nuts.
so all of a sudden in game you had
oh, banners.
When you have multiple of an item, it throws
you
an S
multiple
on it.
items. Yes, it throws an S, or it changes if it ends with an F, it changes it to a VE.
well, of
So
course.
you had grapeses and
Grapeses?
beeves instead of beef. It was great.
Gollum running around.
Yeah,
My beeves.
grapeses and beeves. So.
Are there more people filtering in?
They're all pouring in.
People joining us,
Awesome.
which is excellent.
You know, when we're on our development server and we're playing the game, testing things out, we have access to all the dev commands.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of them are supposed to be for debugging. You know, what can you do? You know, we can do pretty much anything with our debug commands.
Which we don't use on live, remind
Well,
you.
we can't.
We can't.
Yeah, we physically can't.
So none of our accounts have that stuff on live, but on dev, you can do a lot of things. And our lead content designer, Jeremy, one of his favorite things when we're in a playtest is to kind of run around and target people and change their character model on them. So you look away from your monitor, you look back, and suddenly you're a chicken, or you're a cat, or whatnot.
You have a swarm of cats following
He,
you.
he,
swarm
does,
of
he,
cats
has
one.
the, he has a swarm of cats. He'll cast a spell on you that summons 12 cats around you that just follow you around all
Yep.
the time.
I like to think that some of this is an homage to Hexen.
And you know, like you said earlier, you know, with some of the artists running around, you know, messing with the train on you. You know, a lot of other devs will just run around and troll you. They'll just walk up to you and /kill you, and your character dies.
Yeah.
And so in playtests, you know, that'll happen sometimes, and we've had to come down on people pretty hard sometimes. We actually at one
yeah.
point used
Did
to
the shame list?
have a shame list and call people out in company-wide emails saying this is a cheating asshole, not asshole, asshole, who has been doing this or doing that or
Thank you for
changing
clarifying.
Yeah, wasn't when we first started adding collision to models, people were like blocking the doors and trapping entire play tests.
things. Yep. Yep.
I mean, it was good to know that, you know, if we're doing it, players are going to do it.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
had
I mean,
to work around
we
it.
see that on the live servers now with the
But
Jubilee.
you know,
King.
it's like when you're playing pen and paper D&D, and your friend says, "Well, it's what my character would do," and it's like, "Well, then your character's an asshole too." Like, but thanks for the testing.
We're not
No, you're not allowed to roll another Kinder.
No. We're not, I mean, we do some fun things and homages to people in the studio as well as like
Oh, yeah.
other games and stuff we sneak in there. Like there's Easter eggs all over the game. There's besides the skeleton thing in Cyrodiil, there's the drunken party where you go up, it's overlooking one of the keeps, and there's a lot of drunken parties all throughout the game.
It's like you like to be
It's
drunk.
like, yeah.
It's well, I mean, who doesn't? It's fun sometimes.
There's a number of
think
like
you're projecting.
dogs in the game that are named after like people's
are.
pets. and
Yeah,
kids
there's
and
a lot of
family
a lot of
members.
those,
And, yeah.
There are a lot of dogs in Cyrodiil that are named after various people or their dogs.
So another cool story is when we were originally doing one of the first dungeons I did on the team, which was Spindle Clutch, and we have stand-ups where we all stand up in the morning and we talk about what we're going to do and stuff. And every time,
Sorry.
so every time we would sit there and we were talking, and every time we mentioned Spindle Clutch, we would do like an air guitar. I'm like, Spindle Clutch, you know. So like it just got to be this thing that it was a rock thing. So our producer at the time, Corey, he went out and he got shirts made for the entire team that say Spindle Clutch. We had our world builder did a cool logo, so it looks like this rock thing. I think the quest was called Deadly Whispers, so it was called the Deadly Whispers Tour. And then we had dates and cities on the back from all of our birth dates and then our birth city, so it would look like it was a tour. So we have like my team.
there were
has
a
that-
lot of
that
jealous
Spindle
people
Clutch.
in
Yeah,
this
I
I
know.
think there's a
yeah,
theme building here that devs really like t-shirts.
Devs do like t-shirts, yes.
Absolutely.
I think there's a theme that devs don't really like shopping.
That could be too. We don't have much time, is really what it is.
That's why we're all wearing some variant of black,
Black.
or gray.
Yeah,
on
that's
stage.
developer black or gray. Yeah, that's we're monochromatic.
What was the AC/DC?
Oh yeah, so VO also when it comes in VO can be hit or miss sometimes when it comes in. our actors get direction, stuff like that. But then, so we review it. So it comes in and we put it in the game, and then we kind of review it, and we'll go back and say, oh, you guys need to redo this or do this differently. And one of the times for White Gold Tower, Clivia Tharn, her first thing, she had this thing where she had to mention the Elder Scroll and like this thing, and she sounded just like AC/DC. And she would go in the middle, and we were all playing a dungeon, and all of a sudden she goes, "The Elder Scroll!" And was like, "What was that?" So it was kind of like a mix of Cobra Commander and AC/DC. So we kind of were like, I actually went to the audio guys. I was like, "Can we put like a guitar track after this? That could be a new song that we could have or something." So it's
Could
pretty
very
fun.
easily be Man-O-War.
Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah, the VO guys are fun. They're always making crazy noises, pulling people in.
Crazy noises is a nice way of
Yeah,
Yes,
it is.
yes.
It is, week-long belch contest,
Yes.
essentially.
For the drum personality, that was actually what they did.
Yeah.
Bring in 2 liters of Coke or whatever it is, and having people go into their office and burp all day.
And my desk is literally right down the hallway from
Yeah,
them.
and they had to get it
so
right,
it's a non-stop burp fest of just belches and different things like this. And then it was great because we would have like signs made up, so they would come out of their office and be like, "That's a 9," or something like that. So
You know what? At least we don't have smell foley's.
Yes, we do not.
We were
have
talking
smell
about this
foley.
the other day about how there's sound foley's for games, but the one thing games haven't really latched onto is we'd really like to VR the smell of the sewer level.
need to
and
have a
everything.
different
We
building
do not
for
want
that.
to do
Yeah,
that.
so smell foley is what we came up with.
Sometimes that happens inadvertently, just,
VR is good for some things, not for smell. I couldn't imagine VR smell.
Yeah. So the audio guys definitely have a lot of fun where they'll do that stuff, and their office is right outside of the ESO Live office. So whenever we're like, we're gonna do ESO Live, you guys have to be quiet. You guys got to calm down. So so we don't get belching coming through on ESO Live.
They help
Sometimes
us
that
generate.
adds to the fun of it, though. You're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're always generating the Robo VO, which is
Oh, yes.
fun to hear in game.
Yes, RoboVO is that thing. It doesn't go live usually. And it's just a way for us to get timing patterns and stuff down, but it sounds very like we've written in these dramatic scenes, and then I'm going to talk like this. So it's
The monotonous.
So we have people in chat who don't believe that this is actually live. So I'm going to ask a question from chat.
okay.
Sure, okay.
Rich, how much can you squat?
How much
They're
what?
impressed with your calves.
How much can you squat? Depends on how much
we
you
get
had to
some
eat.
weights in there?
weightlifting, right?
Not that kind of squat.
Oh,
I don't know. I haven't lifted weights since college. So
he doesn't even lift, bro.
no, I don't lift. Bro. Do I look like I lift?
Need to get some weights in here. Show it off.
You look like,
Oh,
he's got
now
to
here
zoom
comes
in
the
on
zoom
him.
in on the camera.
Steve.
All right. Show your dainty ankles.
Oh, man.
And now we've
I'm
lost
not gonna
Cat
do the
Bar.
And now we know it's live.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the turnaround yet.
Oh, my God. While you're zoomed in on his cast, should you talk about potatoes?
Specifically
Nice
potato
seg-
lady.
Yes.
Nice segue there. That was smooth.
So,
Does his cast
you
look
know,
like potatoes?
we're constantly telling people that we read our
Swap
feedback,
potatoes.
/bug/feedback, those kinds of things. And a lot of people don't believe us. They're just like, oh, we just do this thing and send it into the void, and then people ignore it. And
So we get some interesting notes sometimes.
there's some good ones, and there's this one in particular. I think it was during the provisioning revamp, way back
Yeah,
when.
A year and a half ago, consolidating all the ingredients.
And this person wrote like 6 or 7, /feedbacks all in a row, and we had to kind of piece it together because there were a whole bunch of other ones. But it was a story. It was about this lady who, had been playing since early access. She'd been, slowly accumulating her family. She loved her family. She was, wanted to support them, and they were very precious to her and whatnot. And we were like,
one day-
what the hell is this? Like, I don't understand this. And then at the very end of the story, it turned out that her family were actually potatoes in her inventory. And when she logged in, because the provisioning revamp, the potatoes got changed to salt rice or something like that. And she wanted her potatoes back.
Yeah.
And we were like, wow, okay, well, that seems like a bug. So we fixed it. And then we had, one of the developers decided to respond to this person. I don't know if it ever actually got to
I don't think it
person or
actually
not,
went out.
But they responded in character. So, going on about how, some
Children
things...
grow and change.
Children grow and change. So, we do read that stuff. And
Sometimes they become things that parents didn't anticipate.
Oh, yeah.
Game developers.
Right.
Yes.
My child is budding. He has 3 eyes now.
So, actually, that's funny when you said, become game developers. So, I had my parents here for day one of PAX. They got to come and visit, and they had actually never really seen what I do and how I do it. They knew I was a game developer. And for the longest time, I just told them I played video games all day.
Isn't that what we do all the time anyway? Just play video games all day?
Well, it's easy. What do you do? I just play video games. Oh, that's a cool job. Yeah, it is a cool job. But, I can remember, when I was growing up as a kid, my mom coming into my room and yelling at me going, "You're never going to amount to anything if all you're doing is playing on your computer all day." And, I look back at that and I'm like, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Still playing on my computer all day and I'm a game developer.
And my dad had to formally apologize after I got an actual paying job for all the years spent playing video games.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I had
funny.
that experience with my graphic design professors, because I would come back to their classes and they'd say, "Hey, can you come in and bring your portfolio and show people what you do?" And every time they were like, "Yeah, we really made a lot of fun with you and we really liked you, but we just figured you were never going to work." And they're like, they were actually genuinely touched. They're like, we're so happy you can support yourself. And I'm like, thanks. I love and hate you now. So.
Yeah, that's funny though, because I get that question all the time, and people ask us all the time. Is like, oh, you're game developers. I mean, you play video games all day. And I'm like, I wish.
Yes.
I wish I played video games all day. That sounds like a fun job.
You playtest broken stuff sometimes. Does that count?
Repeatedly.
So
yeah,
you guys have responded in a much more kindly fashion to that question than I have.
Yeah.
And we're going to go back to Ashhole for a second.
It all ties back.
We have a lot of straight up accountants and office workers across from us.
Oh, man.
And I had someone come up to me one day, and we were in the middle of a crunch, and
Looking kind of
they're like,
ragged.
"Hey, what are you guys doing there?" And I'm like, "Well, we make video games." And he's like, "Man, that must be fun." And I was like,
Coming off a 16-hour shift.
I looked at him, I was like, "What the fuck would make you think someone would pay me to have fun?" And he was like, I was like, "What? I get to wear a T-shirt? That makes up for half." And I gave him a list of job requirements for being in the video game industry, and he never talked to me again. So
It's an interesting culture clash between the people in suits and having business meetings.
I had that story too, where I was in an elevator one day and we were going in. This was when we had, everybody knows what floors we kind of work on and stuff. And I'm sitting in there and I'm in shorts and a T-shirt, and some guy walks in a suit and he's like, "What do you guys do up there on the 3rd floor?" And I'm like, "Oh, we make video games." His immediate response was, "Well, I adjust insurance claims, so there."
Good job.
Oh, okay.
I always just say software development. It seems to be a little more appreciated by them.
Not that culture.
Yeah, me either.
I'm totally fine with telling people all I do is play video
I
games.
make video games. Yeah.
you're giving them a false expectation.
Yeah.
Kind of like that movie Grandma's Boy.
I
I coded the whole game, and I did all the art, and I tested it myself. It was
That's
why
In a weekend.
Doesn't work.
in a weekend. That's why it didn't come out.
Do you have any
Crazy
questions,
stories?
comments?
I mean, there's actually people in the audience now that have questions from you
Now
guys.
that we have
Was there any
an
other questions from
Just
chat? Any
about
other questions from
silly game development things?
I'm wearing a different shirt, by the way, Jess, so it's definitely a live thing.
It's not us just
That's
looping
true.
the feed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys are still wearing dev uniform.
We
Black
are.
and gray.
yes.
Well, that's, I mean,
Blue jeans, black and gray.
Does
Don't
anybody
even
in the
different.
live
Don't
audience have
issue
any
black
questions? We actually had a couple questions from chat, although they were more general.
That's
Are
fine.
you
That's
doing
fine.
this?
That's
Which
fine.
we could take some of those.
Yeah, we're happy
Sure.
to talk
You guys have
about
any questions
game
here?
development. Or
Well, while they're building up their confidence to ask questions, I
You
think
look
one of-
like you want to ask something.
Just from all the single-player titles that you guys tackled before ESO, how big of a change was it to kind of shift to putting all yourselves behind Elder Scrolls Online?
So I think all of us are pretty
MMO
experienced in the MMO world.
yeah, I've only ever worked on MMOs.
And,
Yeah, me too.
So I think the bigger thing in thinking about what an MMO is versus a single player game is just how do players interact with the world? How do they interact with each other? we learned a lot in a lot of our storytelling. Originally when we kind of launched the game, we kind of fell in love with layers and phasing so that you could have your own personalized story. And when you get, hundreds of thousands of people all in the game at the same time, you start to get those player separation issues where, I can't play with Mike because he's on a different step of the quest.
And you don't like me.
Yeah, and then we had to fall in love with fixing edge cases.
Yes. So I think the biggest the biggest thing you got to think about is how do players interact with the world? How do they interact with each other?
Yeah.
Is a big one. But like when you look at games like Oblivion or like Skyrim, they're massively single player games. They're huge. And
there's often a different set of challenges that you face when you have 100 people running through an area, like triggering an ambush. Like, how does that work when you have 100 people triggering the same ambush, one right after another, half of them at the same time? You don't have to worry about that in a single-player game.
Yes.
So.
And
in a multiplayer game, the NPC is always ambushed.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, 30 more groups showed up.
Worst case, you get in a bad situation in a single-player game, you just reload your save.
Yeah.
With us, you don't have that. How do you deal with that? How do you manage that?
And we also have some advantages of being multiplayer in that we can challenge players in a different way and just get more people. So and you don't have that in single player if you can't tackle something because your skill level isn't up to it and stuff. You can't just get more people to come help you. So we have that kind of advantages, but it's very much something that's something we ask from the beginning to the end is how is this going to work with multiplayer. So.
I would like to tell an art story that will get me fired.
Well,
do you really want to tell it then?
I don't think it'll get me fired. It might get me talked to.
Look at Jeff. No!
Now everybody wants.
It's half out of the bag, Jets. It's not really horrible. It's not really horrible.
It's
Not really horrible for you or in general?
It's not really horrible for me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there is a thing that happens, and I talk to a lot of concept artists about this.
No idea
and this has
where
become.
I'm worried.
That's the thing. They're worried because
I know him. I'm
I
worried.
wasn't on the previous panel, so they're like. Long story short, you will draw something, you'll think it's perfect, and someone will just walk up and be like, dude, that looks like a cock, and walk away. happens at every concept artist I know. And
Jesse's like, oh my God, he went there.
I mean,
so this is just a thing that
We'd like to
seriously
thank Matt
happens
for
to
joining us on the panel.
bringing a little bit of class.
We're gonna take Matt out for final drinks.
This was live.
Thanks for all your hard work.
It's been really good working with you guys.
That's not just concept art. I'll do a lot of like pre-level
Maps.
design stuff for dungeons
Yeah.
for
World
maps, and
building
invariably I'll draw something like this looks great, and then
props.
somebody walks up and like that looks like a penis.
Yeah.
But you have to keep in mind that, like,
see it, you can't not
you
see
just
it.
drew a tower. You literally just drew a tower, and someone's like, looks like a, looks like Penn Island.
That's actually a design litmus test where we go, is somebody going to make this look like one of those later if they have the freedom to make it? It's like, no, we can't do that.
Yep.
I remember, and seeing as we're on this subject, I guess I'll.
All right.
Are we staying on this subject?
Just like, oh, God.
So here's the thing: if they join me in, they can't fire us off.
So we're all. That's true.
No, it's true. These guys are leads. They're important. Hug with me.
We're all kids at heart. Obviously, if we wouldn't be, making games still if we weren't kids and a little bit, bonkers. But I think the audio guys.
Canadian bonkers.
They had a test world. One of the very first times that I was exploring some of the test worlds. And they had a dance club.
Yes.
And they had decided to start piecing together some things. And when you zoomed way back out, because we can fly, the test world was a penis.
Oh my God. Like deliberately?
Deliberately. They had gone in and done it, and it was full on, and we're like, dudes, come on.
Yes, if you fire me, you got to take out audio.
So they got that fixed, but I mean, it just,
You thought I was going there with that one story.
I
but
did yesterday.
No. They have that little
Fortunately,
area.
Matt broke the ice.
That little purple bar club scene they have with people
dance
drunk
club.
and throwing up all over the place. That's entertaining when you go in there.
Speaking of test worlds, and less speaking of penises, there are a lot of interesting things that you come across in our test areas because you have all of these different developers running through prototypes and doing things. And so one day you walk in there and there's a chicken that's been scaled up to 100 meters tall for some reason. Another day you run in there, there's 100.
In particular, we have
Science.
Yeah. In particular, we have an area that we call Mundus, which is taking all the Mundus stones and collect them. So that as developers, when we go in, we can just go to this area and just lazily just go to this area and click on whatever Mundus stone we need before we
It
start
also helps
testing.
check the tooltips, you know.
It does. It helps check. It's testing for us. And what's great though is some developers like to throw giant. What was it? There was that one guy he had all these inspirational quotes that he had written, and so he made this giant statue of himself.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there, and all of a sudden,
Singing to his own praises.
Yeah, singing to his own praises.
I think there was somebody that left.
And then there was somebody else as they left.
Defaced it.
They defaced it.
Yeah.
They put a guy with a torch next to it, lighting it on fire.
It's gone.
And then I think we took the Hashmoda and the Behemoth and we scaled them up to like 500, so it looked like some big Godzilla versus.
And then there's just robles everywhere to murder.
So that's actually my
everywhere.
favorite thing. So we have a lot of test NPCs in the world, and we have a target dummy that we created internally, and we named it Eric Roble.
Yes.
And so we get to Eric Roble is our
at home right now,
lead
you
gameplay designer, and so there's places all over the world where there's just this stationary Eric Roble, and you can just go beat on this guy.
It's got a little gesture there too.
Yes.
And test
Yeah,
your
the
damage
little
on
test.
him. So
Yes. He's a naked Breton with a gesture.
It's perfect. It's
That's
perfect.
great. Yes.
suits his personality. Jess is like, okay, guys.
Have a mic.
Do you guys want to take some questions?
Sure.
Chat?
Sure.
Oh, there's one from the audience.
Audience.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Now she's gotta go back and remember. What did he ask?
Preceding that last question series, I was going to ask, how is your job security with ESO and how are your pensions?
How are our pensions?
Pensions.
Actually, to tell you the truth, our job security has been genuinely good. I've been at the studio, it'll be like 9 years in October.
Yeah, he's one of the
And I have been able to keep my kid in one house, which is like a rarity in our industry. And so, the ZeniMax corporate kind of structure has actually been really, really good to us in general. I mean, we got, my kid had to have open heart surgery when he was 4. And it was like, here's a bill for $1 million. Oh, but you just pay this. I was like, okay. Yeah, so he's doing great. He's awesome. But it was just...
They definitely take care of us.
I think
I've
we
been
announced
with the
it.
studio since
Yeah.
2007,
They
which is
match.
when we originally opened it. So, I mean, it's
I think we announced
awesome.
at E3 that we've had over 7 million players play the game and stuff like that. That's good. So
That's our security, the fact that everybody still
It turns
plays.
out if people die, they can't develop.
Sure. And the more invested you guys are, and the more we can get people excited about the game, playing more, getting your friends in, the better off we're going to do.
Well, you actually know, because like when you two came in the other day, I thanked you for my child's health care because you've been playing the game for a long time. So thank you again. I really appreciate it, and he does too. So.
Okay, some questions from chat.
Okay.
So this is a more general question about the game. So how will the Horse Alliance armor be sold? Will it, if we know currently?
That's a leak question. I don't know.
That's
off
a
the
leak
top of my head.
question.
I don't know that
Okay.
one either. Yeah, I don't know that one either.
I don't know.
Like they're wondering if
I'm-
it's separate or in a bundle with the dog and human costume. I guess that's something that we can address
It would be
once it's put into the Crown Store showcase.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll go into
Yep.
the showcase at some point.
Fengrush would like to know how much time does Rich spend playing ESO at work?
too much.
At work?
Per day.
Too
Per day.
much.
I know when I
So-
go into his office for
And
our
not enough.
one-on-ones, half the time he's in Maelstrom.
Well, that's because it's at 1:30. So, yeah, generally at lunch, I try to run a Maelstrom, Vet Maelstrom, on live. And then on dev, I have a playtest block from 9 to 10 every day. And that's reserved for playing whatever's new. So
And then
sometimes,
usually every Friday we will have
and
some
then
type of
Fridays we
playtest
have
for the
a
whole
company
studio.
playtest that's 2 or 3 hours. Most of my playtime happens when I go home. And by the way, it was fun to troll you, Fengrush.
Oh, he's gonna
He's
kill you.
gonna get his
buddy.
revenge today.
He already
right?
did yesterday.
Well, he's gonna
Already in hammer death waiting for you.
Just
Already
standing
there.
there.
That's next. Dueling is next. Come kill Rich and Hammer Death.
Torvian would like to know what everybody's favorite class is, or alternately, your favorite build.
So I'm pretty excited about my ultimate shield wall generation build. I don't think there's any secret about that. So shield wall is one of the new ultimates that goes in, and I always play tank. And so I've been building out my Tava's Favor and my Dragon Guard and my Blood Spawn to just get maximum ultimate generation and cost reduction so I can just spam shield wall all day. I can't kill anything, to be clear, PvP or otherwise. PvP, PvE.
You can piss off the PvPers.
But I can be kind of annoying. I can be kind of
Right, Fang
annoying.
Rush? This is the guy you saw in the sewers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And insulted his manhood.
And then the best part was like 5 minutes later we came back in and he ran down a hallway and he was making fun of me for doing it.
It's so
it
good.
was perfect.
For me, I play a Stam Sork and a Stamina Templar. So Templar is more in PvP and Stam Sork is more in PvE.
Right.
I have one of every class, but I prefer probably Stam Sork, but I like Stam Dragon Knight, and then I have a Blazing Shield Templar too. So
To troll the PvPers.
To troll the PvPers. So I kind of run the I kind of run the gambit on what I like to do. I also have I think I have a Magicka Sork too. So.
Yeah, I've been flipping between Stamina and Magicka on my Templar. And Magicka more for when I'm doing support, Stamina for when I'm more in hunting mode. So I like Templars, but I'm going to be working on a Sork soon.
Okay.
Baby Sork. Magicka Sork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot to say that.
Mag
That was
bugs are
from
good, too.
Smiling Jack 2X. So Mandy Crimcrams would like to know if there are any plans to add two-man dungeons.
I mean, to some extent, some of our
A lot of Craglorn has been
public
tuned
dungeons and
for that. So with one Tamriel, we revisited Craglorn and the balance point there. And so a lot of the Ronnie Zaws, Shottas Tears, those types of dungeons, are tuned more towards the duo. I don't know that we will ever have a unique mode that is you can only have two players in here and go through there, but
I think our public dungeons are pretty great for doing
when we originally did Maelstrom, it was one of the things that we were looking at was saying, is this going to be solo player, duo player, and stuff like that. So weirdly, there's some significant tech issues with limiting players to two players in a particular dungeon or an arena or something like that. So we can explore that and take a look, but I don't think we have any plans for it right now.
Okay. Miner Slayer keeps asking if there's anything we're doing or excuse me, who was that? Sorry, chat, scrolling. Stop scrolling. Something about Miner Slayer.
the bug
The
on
bug?
console,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Oh.
fixed in the next console incremental.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
There you go.
Yeah, we fixed that. Good job, guys. We got that. We didn't just do it.
Yeah, but I didn't hear about it before. So
That's, I guess, kind of the nice things about being MMO development is we can do those incremental patches as
Yes.
opposed to, there's the release of the game and then
Yes.
having no
Well, if
updates.
it's buggy, it's buggy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try to fix those stuff as much as possible.
Yeah.
yeah, making the transition from like single player games to like multiplayer games where you can actually fix things.
Yeah.
Like we still panic as much when we're going
Oh,
towards
yeah.
a deadline.
Yeah.
But we can kind of plan long term. We can see
Yeah.
incremental improvements.
Play long term.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's definitely a change from like coming from a testing company before I got down it with Matt. That got down with Matt. Well, when I worked with you and Matt down in Virginia.
Yeah.
He's a
That,
sexy man.
like testing all the different builds, the single player builds, like waiting for the new discs to come in. I'm wearing black right now. You can come-
Katie liked that one. You can feel free to interrupt, Jess.
Like, she's like looking at questions like, what do I
We've
do?
got one from Spees.
By the way, I now owe Katie at least $10 because I used her copyrighted phrase. So I apologize.
Spees, all right.
So our target dummies going to be considered to be put into the game. They don't have to look like Roble, but just normal ones.
I think
would be
we
really
would
nice
get
if
more
they
use
did.
out of them if they did.
It's something that we want to put in, yeah.
Okay. This is from Ad Astra 224. So for all the devs, what is your most anticipated feature and/or content in the game already, or is there something very specific you're looking forward to that is on the horizon for ESO? That seems like a very clever way to ask.
What's coming
Get me
next?
started on this. Pull that cord.
So
Craft bag was one of my big ones.
That was a big one.
actually, just one Tamriel. So I would have to say that mine is on PTS. It's such a boom
There's a
for
couple
us,
of things
so.
that we're working on right now that I'm not allowed to talk about yet,
That
that
are
I'm pretty
awesome.
excited about. So
Yeah.
that will,
Why are you looking at me?
Uh,
Not you, him.
So yeah, I mean, I think every time we release something, I'm usually really excited about it. Like Justice was a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Craft bags was huge. I actually found it really, really difficult to log onto the live server and play on the live server when we had craft bags internally for so long.
You get used to it
I
immediately.
needed my craft bag in order to have an inventory.
No going back. I'm a digital hoarder.
Right.
Yeah.
digital what?
Digital hoarder.
Hoarder. Okay.
One Tamriel is another big one I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
My wife and I can actually play together now.
Yep.
Because she's I run around and I chop every tree and I read every book and I just want to go and kill stuff. So
Yeah, I have a few friends who are looking to get into it, but they're like, I can't group with you.
Yeah.
No.
So now we'll be able to.
On
Yep.
the art side, it's a little different because so on the concept team, we get stuff way in advance of when it goes out because someone has a plan, says we want to do this culture, and then they have to start at the concept level first and get that stuff into the pipeline, have people building it, then ready for content and design to play with. I did something 3.5, 4 years ago that you guys know I'm really fond of.
Yep.
That none of you have put in the effing game yet.
it's coming.
Don't say it.
It's
Don't say
coming.
it.
No, I'm not saying it because, if I survive, PAX in my art, then I don't want to then get fired for blowing that. So,
No pun
my
intended.
God.
no pun intended. No pun intended. For letting that cat out of the bag.
Well done.
So this question has come up a lot, and I think we've probably answered it every day, but we'll answer it again. Somebody was asking if Impen will be on the new gear that's coming with one Tamriel.
I think it's on PTS. I think some of the stuff is dropping.
Yeah, the trade allocation stuff is an ongoing discussion because sometimes
nice way of
certain types
wording
of
it.
players will
Trade
really not
allocation is
want
an
certain
ongoing
types under
discussion.
certain circumstances.
sound much stupider
So
when I say
we've been talking about it. We're going to try to make sure everyone can get what they want, but it's ongoing.
My answer is I don't remember where we left it off because I've been in Germany and in Seattle
And it
over
went
the
back and
last
forth.
2 weeks. So we'll go back and we'll figure it out.
But
Make
if you
sure
see
we're all
something on PTS and
see
you
something,
have
say
a
something.
and you have strong feelings about it, make sure you mention it on.
Yeah, we were actively soliciting that feedback.
Okay, this is from Flavius Voyage. Any chance Monster trophies will once again become bankable?
Probably not. Something we've talked about a couple times. The idea is for players to go out and actually unlock those achievements. With one Tamriel, however, you won't need to worry about not having the mobs be the appropriate level for you. And so you can go to anywhere those mobs are densest and collect those trophies. Yeah, it should be much, much easier with one Tamriel. And you'll be getting champion points or levels as you do it.
Yep.
Any questions from in here? Oh, there's a question from in here,
And
Jess.
right there.
Yep.
Online Katakosa.
Oh,
That's
whoa.
my name, Katakosa here.
Okay.
That's my player name. I've been playing since 94 days when I looked at the.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So it's been a little bit of an investment.
Yeah.
Long-time player, first-time caller.
And a shout out to ESE, one of my favorite trading guilds.
All right.
So, I'd also like to ask about housing. Any updates on housing?
It's the
I know
next
it's
one.
coming.
That's all we're talking about right now. It's the next one.
Yep.
Quiet. Okay, and then the other one, this is my favorite, and I've been playing for a long time. When I buy something in a trading guild, or cancel something, or send an email, there's still sometimes a little lag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
So
that,
the way
is
that
that something that we're...
So the way the mail system works right now is generally when you zone, when you reload, it grabs all the messages and sends them to the client.
Okay.
And we do a lot of that for load balancing. So that's kind of how the system works right now. Don't know that we'll ever fix that
I
or
mean,
change that. It's something that we talk to the engineers about quite often.
It's one of those underlying, tech framework
Yeah.
things that may, at some point it might make sense for us to go back and revisit it, but not in the short term.
But the quickest way is to just wayshrine somewhere or just log out and log back in, and then you'll have all your mail.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Thanks for developing the game.
Absolutely.
Thanks
No
for
problem.
playing.
Thank you for playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience?
No, more.
Okay.
I like that was turned into a Q&A
I know I
session,
had
but-
one more.
Yeah,
fine.
More.
Why not?
One more?
Why not?
One more.
I could turn it back into bad
No,
stuff.
You're good.
Mute that man.
I'm saying if you wanted to change it back
Cut
to
his mic. Cut his mic.
What the heck? I see something. I must have missed the first part of this question because all I see is specifically what are the size of Finn's hands?
Specifically,
Specifically,
this is a baseball hat for reference.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't know
I
either.
don't get it. Phil's got giant hands. I don't get it.
Well,
Okay.
Phil's a giant.
Yeah.
Real question.
Phil is
This is
very
from
short.
Hypothesis 7. This player is concerned that there's going to be an increase in lag with one Tamriel because of
Everybody's in
all
one
the
area.
factions all the alliances being in the same space.
So, yeah,
And what are we doing to make
I've
sure that
answered
that's
this
not?
question a few times because people are concerned. They see how Cyrodiil works and they're worried about it. So we have, there's a cap on the number of players that can be in a particular, what we call a channel, which is a copy of the zone. And when that cap gets hit, we spin up another version of it, copy of it, another channel, and then the people get funneled there. So that tech has always been in the game.
It's part of our mega server tech.
It's part of our mega server tech, so it's always been there. So
That's why we don't
You-
have a
you
number
won't
of
have to worry about
servers
it,
per
yeah.
territory.
we
because
can't
of load
we can't do that
But
in
if it's
AVA
cyber
on the
mega.
campaign level because the campaign this is your identity. In the individual zones, we don't have to worry about that as much.
Well, it's
And
also
also-
the cap because if you were the first player and you get your own Cyrodiil, you're gonna be in there all by yourself.
Right.
So
And
that's
po-
why
and-
there's a Q and a cap.
Part of this is also that, with one Tamriel, every zone is kind of viable for every character, so that should probably spread out the population a little bit too. So
And the
people
item
can
sets
go-
being distributed
Yeah,
everywhere, so
yeah.
people be chasing
So,
down different things.
It should kind of take care of some of that.
I mean, that being said, we're gonna keep an eye on if we see
Oh,
one
yeah.
city becomes a hot spot and that's where everybody
Okay.
goes. Yeah.
There will be, but there's caps in place, so
Yeah.
it should be pretty smooth. We've gone through that crush of new people in zones
Yeah.
at launch
Yeah.
already. So.
I mean, we're expecting and planning for a big wave to come
Yep.
back with one
Yeah,
Tamriel
yeah.
too.
Okay, we'll do two more, and then we're going to get prepped for the dueling panel. This
Get my
is
ass kicked.
from
Get
Cyrodiil
good.
Zergslayer.
Hey, I remember him.
You're going to have to think back on this one. What's the funniest player names that you've seen?
Oh God.
I know.
There's been all. I actually really like the creative ways people spell out Robal's name. Running around.
I like the Argonian, you're a lizard, Harry.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Oh my God.
And there's obviously a lot of crude, rude ones.
There's a
out
lot
there
of
that I don't wanna
Khajiit
talk
ones that
about,
are really
but,
good.
Yeah.
there's tons of creative ones.
Anything with sparkle in it.
Chairman Meow.
Yeah. Santa Claus is probably
Santa
one of my
Claus.
favorte ones.
Yeah.
There's Gina Bruno running around. Everybody always hassles the hell out of her. It's always fun seeing that.
Yeah, that kind of creeped her out. I'm not going to lie.
And it's I forget who the character is, but it's definitely not a girl character running around.
Right.
I see Gina Bruno.
Okay, actually two more, because Spees had a really good one. This is from B. Boxster. Are the dungeons going to stop dropping Prosperous and training monster masks?
Yeah, that kind of goes back to the earlier trait question of trying to find that balance. We want the traits to be compelling. We want people to want to research them and things like that. But we know that they're not all necessarily hitting the mark exactly where we want.
And our itemization philosophy has actually changed with one Tamriel as well. Whereas before that, you were just hoping to get the drop. And now we're changing it so that when you do the activity, you're always going to get the drop, and you're chasing the perfect weight and the perfect trait. So, I want to make sure that all of our traits are awesome, or at least viable in some way, shape, or form. And just because a particular trait isn't something that the end gamers want, there's other people that are completing those dungeons that might want it.
And also, there's an ongoing discussion between my team and the combat team, that we can have that kind of open dialogue where we can say, hey, you know what, this is dropping, and it doesn't make sense for veteran trials to particularly drop training and stuff like that, because people that want training aren't doing veteran trials. But going back and forth with dungeons, that's a dialogue that we kind of have with the combat team. So.
Yep.
It's a leather cap and 5 copper.
Yes.
Okay, last one. This is the one from Spees that I was mentioning. So with one Tamriel, competition for farming materials is going to increase greatly because there's going to be a lot more players farming materials in the
Yep.
same spaces. Is there anything we're doing to help reduce the competition?
I mean, as Rich was saying, that mega server tech makes sure that we don't go past a certain threshold. So you're not going to end up with 500 people all hitting the same 3 iron nodes or something. But it's something that we keep an eye on. We have control over the respawn rates of things like the harvest nodes.
I mean, if anything, the market will kind of dictate
Absolutely.
that too. Like the prices may go up.
And you have
for
more
certain
places to
materials.
go.
Yeah.
I don't
And
have
you
a
do
problem
have-
with competition either.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
And the way that everything scales to the player now, you can go everywhere.
Yeah, you can go
you
anywhere.
actually might have less competition because you don't need to be in a limited